Testing. Hi, Em.
Hello, welcome everyone to Nothing Media. We have Tim Cliss. Hi, Tim. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
And we also have Julie here assisting Tim ask the questions. If you have any questions, you can join the Zoom. You can also type your question or just raise your hand here and Julie will help you. Go ahead, Tim.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Just string pearls of wisdom together. just like that. Yeah, hi everyone. Hi Scott. Hi Max. Hi Nina. Hi Heidi. Seems like we just got it's like small party in your living room today. Get the drinks out. Hi Darren.
Hey Tim, nice to see you.
And you.
I think everyone's in.
Are you waiting for me to start, Emerson?
Whatever you want to do, Tim.
I thought we'd have a little deafening silence first.
Oh shit. Okay. Can you stare into my eyes first and to give me the advaita glare?
I would rather no. I'm going to pick someone else if you don't mind, Emerson.
Oh.
Okay. Oh really? The beauty of staring at the screen, of course, you have no idea whose eyes I'm staring into and who's getting the transmission. I can't help but mock that shit.
Okay.
I shouldn't really, I know. Well, there's nothing to transmit. Viruses, maybe. This, no. When I was a seeker and I was going to meetings, I was always waiting for some transmission. I was. The reason I'm mocking it is because I know that was what I was seeking. So I got that it was nothing that I could get, but maybe it was something that I wasn't could receive. You know? Something mystical, something magical. And I longed for that. So I didn't get that. I guess the reason I say that is because if you are still waiting for that, then you will still be waiting for that. This isn't about that. This message is not about that. It's about this. And it might just be obvious that what you've called that is this. And what you've called this is that. And you do not know the difference. There is no knowing the difference, for the very simple reason there is no difference. And then you may well laugh a lot. You know, how ridiculous. I've always been seeking that, haven't I? No idea what that is. Well, you know, you've heard endless ideas. Everyone you spoke to had a different idea of what that is. And so you tried that, and looked for it that way. Didn't find it. So that wasn't it, was it? I didn't find it. That wasn't it. Oh, shit. And I thought that was it. So, oh, now that sounds interesting. That's probably it. Let's try that. And that might have worked for a while. You felt, yeah, I think that might be it. I think I might be getting closer to that for a while. But then that turned out not to be it either. And so it goes on. And really, all this message is saying is that can seem to go on till it doesn't. It's not very spectacular. But in the looking for that, this is seemingly missed. It can't be missed. It's never missed. This is unmissable. This is all of the that's that you could ever imagine. But seemingly, because the energy, the motivation is over there towards that, which isn't, then seemingly what is overlooked. When I say overlooked, it's not really overlooked, it's dismissed. It's more like self-dismisses this as far too ordinary. Just not good enough. I am certain that life could be better than this. I'm assured of it. And I've heard from lots of other people that their lives are better. So I'll go listen to them. Maybe try and do what they're doing. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. But it is just that. I think it's probably, you know, because self always says that it's just that there's something missing. There's something not quite right, even when it's good. Even when things seem to be going well, they could always be a bit better, couldn't they? And there's always something that I could add something to this. Just that constant sense of incompletion. And it's simply that this can't be incomplete. If there's nothing else, if there is no that, then this can't be incomplete. It can only be incomplete if there is that to add to it. So self suffers under the delusion that this plus that equals wholeness. This plus that, or many that's, will equal completion. As a simple equation. That's where self lives, in that paradigm, you could say, that reality. Of there's more to come. There simply isn't more to come. This is the lot. All of it. Including all the that's you've imagined. If you want to ask questions, then by all means do so. You could write them in the chat.
Hi, Tim. We have a question from Lance Bell Jr.
Yeah.
The energy of seeking has seemed to disappear along with the suffering that went with it. I still have a fear that comes that this suffering seeking will return. Any advice on dealing with these?
No. Not really. What does Lance say? He said, so the seeking stopped, but there's still fear.
There's a fear that it's going to return. Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, nothing returns, Lance. You would have had to have been here before. Nothing has been here before. So I'm not saying whether fear appears or not, it's always fresh. It's always only a story of, okay, this is a familiar fear. That's just the story of the fear being familiar, or it's returned. And this message isn't about the absence of anything. Anything can appear here. This is completely free and absolutely uncontrollable. That's the freedom, that's the liberation. So if there's fear about the return of fear, then that's okay, Lance. That's all I can say. You know, fear might not feel okay, but it is okay.
Okay, we have a question from Alango. He has his hand raised. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Alango.
Thank you. Julie, is that Julie?
Yeah. Hi, Alango.
Thank you so much. Hello, hello. Tim, Cliss, nice meeting you. I'm having the privilege.
Hi, Orlando. Your fame goes before you.
Oh my God!
It's the first time we've spoken, but
yeah.
Right, here you go. This is how famous you are, Orlando. I was only this morning watching you speak to Lisa.
Yeah.
Just this
Lisa
morning. I looked at that this morning. So I'm following you.
But the difference is, I mean, you're very kind. Difference is that you're teacher and I am a seeker. So I would better be an
Do you want to be in my chair, Orlando?
yeah, that's right.
You do, don't you?
Yeah.
It's not all he's cracked up to be.
Okay. But you're a teacher, Tim, right?
Well,
First time I'm speaking to you.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because the irony of you saying that is because, of course, in the story of my life, I've been a teacher for 30 years and now I'm not a teacher. So isn't that funny?
So what was that teacher of 30 years and what happened?
So I was a secondary school teacher for 30 years.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
So, I mean,
No,
a teacher, not guru teacher.
Yeah. But you are also a teacher of non-duality. That's what that's what FM says, and that is what we read on the internet.
I don't care what FM says or what you say about me. I'm not a teacher. I gave that shit up, Orlando, so I didn't have to do it anymore. So I could do this.
So what is this?
I didn't do it, so I could do this, by the way.
Yeah, but what is this? What's happening now? I assume that there are about 33 of us on the meeting now.
Yeah.
Who are listening
Orlando,
to you.
You can call me a teacher, it's fine. We'll pass over that. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, okay. But you were once a seeker.
Yeah, every self's a seeker.
So
seekers aren't special selves. I'm guessing when you say seeker, you're talking about the selves who go seeking spiritual enlightenment, are you?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I wasn't one of those either. No. I tell you what I was a seeker of truth. That's what I wanted to know. Basically, seeker means I want to know. That's sort of what seeker means to me. And that's the same for all human beings who have a sense of self. They want to know and they think there are answers. And that with the answers, that will give them what they desire. However that is, if it's a new car, it's exactly the same as enlightenment to me. Just that the ones who are seeking enlightenment are saying that I'm on a higher path, unlike those poor bastards who are on that lower materialistic path. And so, but really seeking is seeking. Seeking is saying, I can get this or know this, and that will complete me. Then I will feel whole. Then I will feel fulfilled, that I don't need filling up anymore. This hole in me will be filled up with whatever. So most selves seek it with material possessions and the love of another. And those two together seem enough for most selves. But then there are the really greedy bastard selves who are not content with that. And they have to have satisfied their materialistic needs. That didn't fulfill them. That hasn't worked. Oh, shit. Oh, I'll find the one who will complete me. Oh, no, she's not really done the job. Oh, I'll get a lover as well. I'll get 3 lovers and 3 new cars. But none of it's working. So there must be more. And then I find spirituality, which says, well, I can find enlightenment. Wow. Then I'll just be light, complete light. How wonderful I will be. I just think they're just all stories that self tells itself because it has this sense of incompletion, Elango. That's what when I speak about self, there isn't a self, but there is this sense that most human beings have, that they are separate. And in that, I am inside and I feel separate. And in that, there is a sense of I am tiny and insignificant, and I need to get things in order to feel whole and secure and complete. And there's the ways that self goes about that are many, but the root cause is this sense of separateness and incompletion. Sorry, I got on my high horse about there, Elango.
No, I think you're on track.
Oh, good.
So do you accept this terminology called as enlightenment?
Well, I accept it's a term, yeah.
So are you enlightened?
No.
So what in your opinion is maybe the definition of this term called as enlightenment? Because all spiritual seekers want this.
Yeah, yeah. Really, what this message, what I want to convey, or the motivation here, is to convey that just like all, because coming back to what I said at the beginning with my slightly tongue-in-cheek thing, description of seeking that. Well, what a lot of spiritual seekers do, they make the ultimate that, the final that, the absolute that is enlightenment. And as I said at the beginning, this message is saying there is no that. So there is no enlightenment other than the story. It's a story of specialness, Ilango. What self wants most is to be special, like the guru, like the teacher, like the master. I want to be master of this life too. That's what self says. And I've heard that there are selves who have become masters of life. And for me, it's just the greatest, it's the greatest story ever told, but it's a story. How on earth would a human being be master of this? I mean, it's grandiosity in its grandest form. That's how I see enlightenment. So that's how I see enlightenment. And what I'm talking about is the absolute equality of all human beings. There are no seekers. There are no enlightened. There are just human beings.
So who is a human being according to you? Because a lot of speakers even deny the existence of human beings.
Yeah, well, that's not, I don't at all. What else would we be?
No, I'm just sharing the information of the latest.
Yeah. No, I know just what you mean, Ilango. No, I don't. I say, if you ask me what I am, I'd just say human being.
So
being human. There you go. Maybe turn it around and just say it the other way around, and it's just by turning the words around, it sounds less objective. Because you could say, okay, you could say just being, but then that sounds like a denial of being human. And what I'm speaking of is the opposite of a denial of being human. And I would say it's just being fully human.
I'm very happy to hear that, because I think you must be one of the few speakers who accept that. Because most of the time when I listen to speakers or try to talk to them, they say there is no one talking, no one listening, and nothing happening.
Well, and I could say that because there isn't one inside the human being that's doing the human being. That's all. So if I say there's no one, I'm not saying there's no human beings. I'm saying that's what there is.
So can I just ask then, what is a human being according to you? I'll tell you what is a human being according to me, or generally the seekers. We have a body, and we have a mind, which I think is a bunch of thoughts with awareness, consciousness, analysis, decision making, memories, past, future. That's the mind, and that's the body, and that's a human being. Is there a difference to Tim?
Yeah, well, I just say like most human beings, particularly if you've had a good education, what we call a good education, which is a very complex, detailed education. What it allows you to do, or what it allows the human being to do, is to be more and more analytical, dissect life more and more, have more and more seeming knowledge and understanding of what a human being is. When in actual fact, being human requires no understanding, no knowledge, it requires nothing. Being is simply being, it has no need at all in terms of knowledge and understanding.
Yeah, I
Don't get me
understand
wrong,
that.
knowledge and understanding is useful, but not for the pursuit of which we seem to be engaged.
But
for this, knowledge and understanding is redundant.
I understand. But at least we are having some common pathway here. One is that you accept there is a human being, and you accept that we have a common pathway. That is Tim and Ilango, at least for now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're helping me to find it.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, there is compassion in this. So although this is a compassionate message, Ilango, because I know seeking is suffering.
Yes.
Seeking is painful. Seeking is exhausting.
Yes.
Seeking is a pain in the ass.
So would Tim agree that, Tim is made up of a body and a mind as a human being?
I don't speak of mind. I have no sense that there's a mind at all.
Was there a shift in
That's
you?
That's very abstract. Body, okay, body. So I can, body is obvious. It's as obvious as a satsuma body, It's, you can feel the body. If the body is alive. Now mind, if you say mind, is so abstract. It's purely an idea. I mean, you can say that mind has created mind, the whole idea. It doesn't have any substance. It doesn't have any reality unless I give it. There are thoughts, but even saying thoughts, you try and catch a thought.
I think very soon with artificial intelligence, thought will be mapped like the ECG of a heart. Thoughts are energy bundles. They are not just nothing, isn't it? A thought, you're talking to me because there is some memory inside you. There is a dictionary inside you coming out, and you're telling that, mind is abstract. But in the same way, the internet looks like it's abstract, but that is what is communicating and connecting us. So it is energy form, and a thought is also energy form. And without thoughts, I don't think you can talk to me.
No, and that's interesting. That's all interesting. The thing is, it's nothing to do with what we're speaking of.
And there are a couple of people that have questions.
Okay.
Thanks, Ilango.
Thank you so much, Tim.
You're welcome.
We'll catch up sometime. Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Next up, we have Scott. Go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Oh, hey, Tim.
Lovely to see you, Scott.
Yeah, you too. We keep coming to this crossroads where I'm a romantic. And
you are a romantic. There's no doubt about it.
I know and I used to think it was a lovely part of myself. And I'm a devotional, I have a guru and and I'm just wondering, I mean, my mind is very calm. I'm in the present, but my heart is just starving all the time. It's just starving. It's an old codependence. I don't know what it is. It doesn't seem to be, I think it has to relax in the same way as my mind has become relaxed. How did that happen with you? I mean, or do you just have it every day? I mean, I watched a talk with Mark on Nothing, and he seems to kind of love that longing. But I just, it's just bursting. Is that just my romantic defect, or?
I would say it's really hard to love that longing because it's fucking painful. So it's really hard to love it. I mean, it is love, of course, that longing is love. But when you say love it, as in like it, no, I wouldn't like it. If that even becomes weaker, and if it completely falls away and doesn't appear anymore, that will feel like peace you've never imagined, because the longing is the seeking. They're not two things. That's what we're talking about. This longing to be whole and longing for the lover, especially because I went to see Tony Parsons so much. he talked about the perfect lover all the time. Well, for me, that was like torture, because how much had I longed for the perfect lover? How much have you longed for the perfect lover? Yeah, the one who would complete you, make you whole, fill that aching emptiness. Ah.
Yeah, and you know, we can make it as abstract as we want. We could call it, you know, a guru or the universe or even the nothing. It's just, it feels like it's not enough. And I just hope that quiets down, because it's really like, it wants to chew. It's
I don't know if it does help, but I mean, the longing is love, Scott. That's what it is.
I just guess I have to turn it on itself.
We could go as far as to say that's what we are. But then I would sound as romantic as you then, and I wouldn't want to do that.
Can we say it's proof of love?
Oh, no, love doesn't need any proof. Yeah, you could say this is proof of love, that that's it. That's the unconditional love. Yeah. This is unconditional love. Why? Because this is, isn't it? But my longing is, well, this is okay, but oh, there's something just over there. There's just, if only, well, there isn't, if only is the longing, is the seeking, is the energy that this could always be better, to be improved. This is never improved. This is always as it is. That's it. That is the whole message. There isn't anything. So when Ilango says there's a teaching, I mean, this is as it is really not a teaching, is it? It's stating the fucking obvious. That's all this is doing. So when he says, are you a teacher? That's why I can say this isn't a teaching. All it seems there's motivation to speak about is this most obvious life as it is, rather than as you want it to be, as it could be, as it should be. All fantasy, just fantasy. And the fantasies are just this, as it is. There, that's it. The whole teaching. See, if you want to call it a teaching, you can, but it's a pretty poor teaching, as teachings go. You know, if you can learn it, in a minute, it's not much of a teaching, is it? You know, because if you want a teaching, you want at least, I don't know, you want a term's work, you want homework to do, you need stuff to work on. Otherwise, what's the point? And the wonder is there is no point. I mean, that's.
I mean, what I'm getting is that the longing is part of this. It's not my longing. It's just.
And I wouldn't want you to think that there's no longing. There isn't longing, appears. It's the most natural. I think it's absolutely human. And if you want to escape what you've called your humanity, all this message is, I'm saying message, not teaching. All this is there is this humanness. That's all there is. It's just not yours.
Well, what does yours feel like? How does your longing, what does it feel like? I hate to push you into feeling.
What do you think?
In a way, what words
have I got? What words have I got, Scott? Longing feels like longing, I suppose. You know, I can't. I mean,
does it quiet down?
Because what we always want to know in any conversation is, so what I'm using this word to mean, is that what he means by it? And there is absolutely no way of knowing this. I mean, that's even that simple. What the word you use when you use it, is that what it means here? Probably not. But there's no way of knowing one way or another. So even at this very simple happening level, The illusion is that you know, so that we have words and we agree on what they mean. We do not. Absolutely, we don't. So when you ask me what longing means or what longing feels like, well, it feels like longing. But then when you say what longing feels like, it probably feels something completely different, but you call that longing. But the beauty is it doesn't matter, Scott.
Yeah. I guess it's just one more attempt at my personalizing something, you know,
Yeah.
making it into a story.
Yeah, and this isn't personal.
Yeah. It's part and parcel.
And yet, incredibly, with the absence of personal, it's more intimate. Because actually, I was the buffer, I was the filter. I wrapped myself in layers and layers of defense against life.
I mean, it's like a vacuum. It just wants to suck in I mean, nothing will be enough. You know, even everything won't be enough for this vacuum. And so in a way, you're right. The mind is the buffer. It's just,
yeah.
The longing is incredibly powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's much more powerful than hunger or.
Yeah. Well, what self has is a hunger for love.
Yeah.
We have a question here from Mark Smith.
Thanks, Tim.
In the chat.
Thanks, Scott.
All seeking is a rejection of what is. What is includes all there is. There is nothing outside of all there is. All there is not a think, which can be acquired by some kind of, quote, practice. Tim, please can you expound on why this, what appears or arises, is all one? Is this an article of faith or logically essential?
Bloody hell.
Do you want me to reread it or just the last, or the questions?
Bloody hell, that was, you know, my intellect only goes so far. Then
okay, let's just go to the question.
I'm scratching my. He used the word expound, which I'm impressed with.
Okay. Is this an article of faith or logically essential, this oneness that appears to arise?
No, there's absolutely no. There's nothing that's essential. Who is it? What's his name?
Mark Smith.
Mark. No, I don't have any sense that there's anything that's essential at all. And I could have in the past, maybe even when I started speaking, I maybe spoke about oneness quite a lot. But now it doesn't feel. You could say one, but the one is so empty. I tend to just use emptiness rather than one, because the oneness is nothing, or it's the nothing that's one.
Okay, this is from Meinhard Steenson. Tim, can you say something about motivation? What to do when motivation for going back to work is gone completely?
Oh shit, I haven't got any advice about that other than don't go to work.
Okay.
No, don't get me wrong, that was really traumatic for me. Because really in the seeming falling away of Tim, one of the first things that went was motivation to do what he'd always done. That kind of went before he went, you know, so the fear of losing motivation, well, it wasn't fear of losing it, it'd gone. And then there was a lot of fear. Really just kept saying over and over again, well, what the fuck am I going to do now? It's probably what you're asking yourself right now. Well, what the fuck am I going to do now if I don't go to work? And it isn't funny when it's happening, but it is funny. It isn't funny when it's happening to me, but it is funny.
Heidi has.
So no, I haven't got any motivation, because motivation for work is is intrinsically wrapped up with my sense of self, with who I am, that I know. A lot of I know who I am is I know what I'm good at and what I can do. And then if that starts to become flimsy, transparent, falls away, however it feels, if that starts to not be real anymore, then yeah, self can get terrified. There's nothing to fear though. So what if you can't go to work? You'll just be poor, that's all. No big deal. Most of humanity is extremely poor. Get over it. I'm joking. But it's true, isn't it? You know, in the Western world, we're obsessed with what sort of standard of living we need. And actually, to be fully human, you don't need that much. You do need a basic income of some degree, but you don't need much. You know, what we say we need to be happy is the illusion. I mean, that's a great lie, but that self will maintain that illusion because that keeps me motivated. That keeps me feeling very real and alive. I must do that. I need to do that. I would die if I didn't. Well, you wouldn't. It might be unpleasant for a while though. Sorry, Mark, that was the shittest advice I've ever heard.
Okay, Heidi has her hand raised. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Heidi.
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Hi, Heidi.
Hi, Tim. Are you here? Yeah. Hi. I cannot see you.
Can't you?
Now I have you. Yeah. So it's great. It's great to listen into this seeking thing, because I realized when I was on this stage, I followed for 3 or 4 years Gangaji, and I realized I wasn't up there because I had any questions, because I realized I wanted to stay up there to stay same. I wanted to stay on the stage because I had the idea I'm as special as she is.
Right, yeah.
And the point is now in this resonance, I see I have to laugh about this, because I am as special as you are, as everyone is special.
Yeah.
And there were never questions, but I had to bring the questions up to be special for the guru or the teacher.
You
like
had to
this.
actually
And this was
create the questions to be so that you could go up there to speak to it.
Yeah. And to arise, to show my face, to give my voice, to arise, to be there. But now I see it's not necessarily to arise. It's just normal to have a shitty day like today. It was like this, but it was just normal. Okay, there's no question. If a day happens like this, it's just happening like this. Okay,
Yeah.
tomorrow there will be a new day, another day like this. That just went with me. Yeah, I just wanted
nice.
to share this. Yeah.
No, that's lovely. I love the fact that you can now confess to having to make up questions in order to sit with the guru.
Yeah.
that is good. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, I just say something about specialness, because really what we're speaking of is the end of the possibility of specialness. Specialness that dies. Well, with me, because of course, who's the most special of all? It's me, always. It's the one thing self won't admit it to itself. So what most selves do is the specialness that they make for themselves is how inadequate, incompetent, incomplete, useless, failed, depressive, all the negatives. What is usually missed is that is the very essence of the specialness of self. No one knows sorrow like me. No one knows loneliness like me. No one has these feelings like me. No one really gets me. All of that is just this incessant need to stand out. When you are, what you've called yourself is the most ordinary human being.
Yeah.
Exactly the same as every other human being.
Yeah.
That is the wonder. That is the equality. That's the love. When everyone is equally ordinary, absolutely, and there is no doubt and there is no possibility that there could be any special ones.
Yeah, there is also that song.
Which
nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows but Jesus, and this is the point. There is Jesus. He's seen me like this, and this is the problem. This is the longing that starts running.
Yeah.
There must be someone who can see me and the troubles I have with this shit, with this holy shit. That's so great.
Well, I've got a theory. It's not really mine, but if I'm telling a story, I can tell a theory of when it started at separation. So there was, so there you are at, I don't know, say you're 1 year old, and there's no sense of self. There's no separation. There's you and mother, and when you're with mother, there isn't two of you. There's just this amazing love that doesn't need to be spoken of, can't be spoken of. And then by somewhere around 18 months, this horrific event takes place where one day there's you and there's mum. And to not romanticize it too much, that is when you leave the Garden of Eden, you could say. You leave heaven, you could say. That you're thrown out of paradise. You're thrown out of this into my world, me, and you're tiny. So this sense of self, this illusion that there's you and everything else, that you're separated from wholeness, completeness. The center of that is wordless, because this happened when you didn't have words. And so that longing is longing to be once again one with mother. There you go. That's my romantic story for today. It's just a story, but for me, it makes perfect sense. It seems that really resonates still. That does. That isn't my story. It's sort of like a mishmash of things that I've heard of. But the wonder is that it never happened, you know, that from 2 years old, you always thought that had happened, that you'd been thrown out, that you'd been separated, that you were in a boat on your own in the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, you've been rowing your boat, and you're rowing, you know, sometimes you just drifted. You called those depressive periods. And then you got a bit manic and you rode like fuck for a few months, trying to get, you know, back to love, back to wholeness. And then you got exhausted, so you had a rest, and you put the oars down. And well, anyway, you know, that story of rowing your little boat in the ocean. When there's just the ocean. And you were trying to get somewhere in the ocean when, of course, you only had to fall over the side. But of course, then you were terrified you'd drown. Well, you know, drowning is the only way, because you've got to get yourself out of that boat somehow. So you seemingly have to drown. But then in the drowning, there was no one drowned. I've got lost in, I've got so many mixed metaphors there. I don't even know where I am now. I'm completely lost in a range of metaphors. Oh dear. I'm just going to get I'm just going to get a glass of water.
Okay, we have a couple of people here with their hands raised.
Yes, okay.
First, we'll go with Chirag and then you, Alango.
Okay. Chirag.
Hi, team. Can you hear me?
Hi, yeah, fine.
Okay. So, team, you just said that something about how two different people can use the same word, but they can still mean different.
Yeah.
You know, so it just reminded me of something in one of the YouTube videos of UG Krishnamurti. I heard him say that the world appears two-dimensional, he said. So, for example, if there is a tree, then just like how it appears on a screen, everything appears on the same flat screen. Just like that, it appears flat to our eyes, but our knowledge gives depth, to the whole picture.
Yeah.
Now, and he was talking about how it appeared visually, So then I went to a meeting of another speaker, Andreas Mueller, and I asked him the same question in chat, and he immediately said that no, it doesn't look visually, it doesn't look two-dimensional. But what probably UG meant was that because everything is real and unreal, so maybe there is nothing is important. So probably that's why he said two-dimensional instead of three-dimensional. And after listening to Andreas, I immediately concluded in my mind that probably it looks like UG had a fake enlightenment, or maybe UG, he was still living in a story or something like that. But the other day, I was listening to you, and without anybody asking you in your last meeting, you said that the same thing, that the world, when you are getting used to it, it almost looked two-dimensional.
Yeah, it was.
And you said it was, what you are saying is visually, not just metaphorically, or visually it was two-dimensional. That's what you say.
Really. Yeah, flat.
So flat, yeah. So what I was thinking was that how, immediately so the same thing could be with the term consciousness or awareness also. Maybe different speakers mean different when they use the word. And it's very difficult to, just because somebody says something or denies something, we cannot conclude that that person probably is still living in a story. And, because
well, see, there isn't anyone who's in, like, because you're very much still in the story of Chirag, that there are enlightened beings and non-enlightened human beings. Just human beings, some of whom are suffering under the delusion that they are in control of their life and they can get somewhere else and become something that they're not. If you just think about seeking, it is just, so I am this, I don't like this, I can become something better. So there are some human beings who are like that, and then for no good reason, for no credit to that human being, there are some human beings who have just, there is no reasoning to this, there is no path to this, but there are some human beings who have just, that has seemingly stopped appearing. It just doesn't turn up. And then if that doesn't turn up, that desire to become, if this becomes ridiculously obvious, that there is and can be no becoming.
Yeah, but you use the word delusion. Some people are still under delusion. So I have noticed that Jim Newman, Andrea Stoney, they all, I mean, when somebody asks them a question about, say, for example, Osho Rajneesh had this opinion or Ramana Maharshi said this, then they immediately claim that looks like those people were still under delusion.
Rubbish. I mean, there isn't any, the thing is, look, so there is this seeming illusion of feeling separate. That's beyond doubt. That's what we are. You could say the whole essence of this meeting and speaking in this way is to challenge the commonly held and conviction and belief and felt sense that I am real. That's it. And that, don't ask me how or why. There is no rhyme nor reason nor meaning to it. There's no significance in it either, but that can stop appearing. And then you can talk about I am, and it means nothing at all. You can talk about enlightenment, it means nothing at all. Because they are just seen for what they are, which are just stories of becoming. And this isn't becoming anything. That would be all of that I spoke about at the beginning. That is, when I said that, you could replace the word that with becoming. This doesn't become anything else. This is always exactly what it is. The suggestion is that you can't know that, but the delight and the wonder is it needs no knowing to be as it is. You don't need to know this for this to be absolutely as it is.
No, the only point that I was trying to make was that looks to me that it is quite possible that someone got out of the illusion or delusion, and he can explain the whole thing with different words, terminology, and probably he also means the same thing, but maybe he can use the word. I mean, some speakers use a non-personal consciousness, like there is a personal consciousness and then it just falls away, but then it's just an ocean of consciousness where there is no individual or something like that. So is it possible that
I can't imagine anything more grandiose than a human being claiming to now be the absolute ocean of consciousness? I mean, that has got to be the most grandiose statement that a human being could ever make, isn't it? And I'm not saying they're not, but I kind of am. It's like, what the hell? You're just a human being.
Yeah, but you
You're
use
not
the
the
word
vast
that
ocean of consciousness. So anyway, I will say there is a lot of difference between, oh, I've forgotten it now. You did say something, I wanted to say it, but it's gone. Sorry.
no, I was I was talking about personal consciousness and non-personal consciousness or awareness.
I know what I wanted to say. I would, I want to say that this isn't talking about the end of the personal. It's talking about the end of the personal being mine. You know what you take to be your life. That's personal, isn't it? Well, that isn't going anywhere. You know, if you want to escape from that, this is not about an escape plan. This is more of, this is the other thing. You know, the escape plan, that's the rowing. This is, you know, the boat falling apart and you just got to fucking drown. That's not an escape plan. That's diving in and just sinking. But, you know, there's no harm in that. That's the story. You have to keep rowing because, you know, the ocean is terrifying. The ocean isn't terrifying. There's just the ocean. You never did need to row. The ocean hasn't got an edge. You can't get to land. Because this can sound like a landing, you know, that, oh, here, yeah, him. Well, I think he's the real deal. He's actually landed in that, you know, on that tropical paradise we call Eden or heaven or nirvana or whatever other fantasy you've had about the promised land. Well, the harsh bit of this message is saying there is no promised land. Of course not.
Okay.
That is the seeking, is the promise of what will be. And it can be obvious that there isn't a will be. That's that again. More of that. More of the other.
Thanks so much, Tim.
Thanks, Chirag.
Okay, Elango.
Okay, Elango on again, Tim.
Go, Joey.
Then is Elango.
Oh, Elango, sorry.
Able to see me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Tim, I was just going through a website in the meantime. I just realign myself and to tell you that as a seeker, when I am asking you questions, it's not to go into the grandiosity of a Vedic Aham Brahmasmi, that I am the entire universe. No, I am not looking at that. I'm looking at a very basic tenet of human suffering. What Byron Katie says, enlightenment can be equated to the end of human suffering. That is where I am coming from. And I'm looking at you as a person who can help me end my suffering, not in the pain of a toothache, but in the thinking about the toothache. The incessant thought processes which keep on driving the human present modern race and which creates our suffering more than the pain of a physical pain.
Yeah.
So
you're seeking the end of suffering.
Correct. Exactly. That's the only thing I want in life now. Because I always believed that the human being is a clothed animal wanting only pleasure. Since you quoted Lisa today in her book, and sometimes she questioned us asking, is it that you want infinite orgasm? For a human being, sexual orgasm is supposed to be one of the peak of experiences in life. And Osho told that,
It's not bad though, is it, Elango? It's all right.
It's not at all. It's not at all. So actually we are speaking to a very common audience, Tim, or I would be more frank in telling you more things about, the orgasm part, where Osho said sex is the lowest state of samadhi and samadhi is the highest state of sex. But apart from the sex part of it, I mean, that was his famous first.
Remember though, he was a dirty old bastard, wasn't he?
To me, he was one of the greatest modern gurus ever, in my opinion. Let's not talk about Osho.
Maybe he was that as well, but he liked sex though, is what I mean.
I mean, who doesn't like sex? Come on.
Fair point.
Anyway,
I'll accept that.
Okay, our bone of contention is not Osho or sex in this talk. It's mainly to end the suffering. So Lisa used to ask us, I mean, is it that you want infinite orgasm? As a human being, I want it because I always believed the human being.
Elango, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Just qualify what you mean by the end of suffering. Just qualify that a bit.
Yeah, I believe that I am a clothed animal and I am oscillating between pain and pleasure in life. Pain is when I have a physical illness, when there is a problem, a real problem, a toothache, some problem. But the suffering is when I keep thinking about it there is a constant thinking about, what will happen, what will happen, what will happen. The anxiety of the future and the depression of the past, where there is an insensate thought cycle. So I could have been born in the royal family of England, and I could have had Einstein and Shakespeare as my children, but still I have this problem of suffering. So
what?
The suffering.
Sorry, no. Tell me what the suffering is. You haven't done it yet.
The suffering is that the thoughts that I have gives me more pain. It doesn't allow me to be in the present. Thoughts are always never in the present. In the absolute present, there are no thoughts.
Well,
the thoughts which keep on.
Do you know the thoughts aren't the problem, Elango? The thoughts are not the problem.
Then what is the problem?
You saying they're a problem?
Yes. Thoughts coming recurrently, unnecessarily.
Thoughts, no, even if they're recurrent, even if they're unpleasant, the thoughts in and of themselves are not a problem, are they?
As long as the thoughts are attached to the me. Let's talk about the me now. The me being an energy.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is thoughts in and of themselves are not a problem. The problem
is... No, I differ, Tim.
You can differ if you want.
No, I'll just give you an example.
The thoughts are not a problem. The problem is I don't want these thoughts. I need to get rid of these thoughts. These thoughts are a problem. That's the problem.
No, suppose I am a person who's having suicidal tendencies. Just for an example. Many of us would have thought at some point in life, let me die. So, but if that thought is going to be 24, see, you have been a teacher and I am a doctor, somebody is something. And once in a way, if it pops up once in a year, it is okay. But suppose I am a person with a suicidal tendency and that thought keeps on happening again and again. The thought happens is the problem.
It's the problem for me, but
because for me,
But the thought isn't the problem. It's a problem for me is the problem.
No, that's that
might sound just splitting hairs, but I'm not just trying to be pedantic. I'm just saying there is no freedom from thoughts. Well, you could say physical death may well be that, but we won't ever know that. It probably is freedom from thoughts, but thoughts, if you're a human being, thoughts just happen. And what you're trying to do, Elango, is just be more in control of thoughts.
No, I'll let you know what I want.
And in essence, that is the problem. That you make thoughts wrong. I want to get rid of those thoughts. That is the problem, the wanting to get rid of them.
No. I'll tell you what I want. I want my thoughts to come down. Yeah, what I want is... Pardon? No. See, my spiritual journey started in 1990, 30 years ago. I met a saint. She was a teacher. Her name was Mataji Sri Nirmala Devi, and it was a Sahaj Yoga, Kundalini Yoga. I never knew what yoga was at that point in time of spirituality. I met her. There was something called as a transfer of energy from guru to disciple. For 1 year, there was thoughtlessness. There was very little thought. For a 27-year-old, as a medical student, I was in a state of silence. I never knew what it was at that point. I lost it after a year. I'm trying to get that. That's my problem. Nearly 95% of my thoughts came down.
Now,
only what was necessary.
Elango, now you're really starting to make sense now. I've got it.
Yeah.
You had this wonderful experience.
Yes.
Yeah. And you want it back.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes, maybe. Exactly.
That is exactly it. Yeah. We're there now. That's it.
The only thing is that, after I stop talking to you, the chatter happens. Whereas it has stopped for you. In your website, I wanted to come to that. You said you had a revelation, right? When the rocks were rocks and the water were water.
Yeah.
I had that. At that time, I lost it. Mm-hmm. Now you had that, then you had a journey in non-duality and it crystallized in you. The rocks remained as rocks and the water remained as water. Yeah. The Zen saying, I want to be in your shoes. That's what I'm trying to, and I believe it can happen.
Elango, I can't emphasize enough, you so don't want to be in my shoes.
It's just a metaphor.
Even if it was a possibility, I wouldn't wish that for you. I wouldn't, honestly. The whole notion, I mean, the illusion, this is the whole illusion that you could be in someone else's shoes. There
No,
isn't.
that was just a metaphor.
I know it's a metaphor, but that is the illusion. There is no one else's shoes. You do not have shoes. No one has shoes. You can't be in your own shoes, let alone someone else's.
Okay, that's a little bit abstract. Can I request from you? I mean, do you? No, I got it.
That was just using the metaphor.
Correct. No, do you accept something called as the me in a human being? The me energy. A lot of teachers speak about that. The energy which attaches to your thoughts and your body and claim that, I am doing this. Yes. I'm an autonomous.
Yeah, claiming, yeah.
You accept, claiming that. Yeah. Now, for you, once you started becoming a speaker of non-duality, that energy has been gone, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, it's really odd. And because I can't say it's gone other than think about when it seemed to be there, because there really is no difference. And that's the most disappointing. All I can say, Alango, you've been waiting for enlightenment for 30 years.
Yeah.
And you could say seemingly, Tim Cliss has got it. Well, I'm telling you, you don't want it in that case, because Tim Cliss cried for weeks on end at the disappointment of what it meant. You don't want it. I'm telling you now, it is not what self wants at all. You don't want to be nothing. You just don't. You might say you do. Self, there's no place for you here. It's not cozy. It's not fluffy and warm, and it's not romantic. You can romanticize it all you want, but it's not a romantic ideal that you fantasized about. It's not any of that. It's absolutely real.
Tim, are you saying that you wouldn't give this to somebody you love? If it is possible.
Okay, Alango, you've got me with that. Yes, I would.
Then don't you love me?
Yes,
and
I would.
Share the secret.
If I wouldn't wish it for other human beings, then I wouldn't speak about it.
No, but you were telling me that I wouldn't want it. But I say I would want it.
So there's a difference. I could wish it for you, knowing that it's not what you want, but I would still wish it for you. There you go. That's how paradoxical it is.
Yeah, that's okay. But yes.
But when I
have questions.
Yeah, thanks, Alango.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you.
Let me first read one from Puya here in the chat section.
Yeah, sure.
Do you think we are living in a simulation as human?
No.
A simulation that human body is part of it and consciousness brought. Okay. So next we have John. We have John who's had.
No, there's no simulation. I mean, talk about too much sci-fi.
Okay, John, go ahead and mute yourself.
Thanks. Hi, Tim.
Hi, John. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you. Can I go back to the Garden of Eden, please?
Yeah, sure.
I would totally agree with you. If there was ever a time when, as a kid, somebody read that story and I thought maybe it was like history, and then obviously in my adult age, when I realized that certain people had calculated that it was 6,430 years ago, and I realized that must be bollocks because,
absolutely,
rocks and geology and so on.
I remember the same time, yeah.
But I have to say, I think it's the most brilliant metaphor.
Me too.
For a profound metaphor for exactly what it seems that you're talking about. I mean, at the moment when they ate the fruit and they became aware of themselves.
Absolutely, knowledge, yeah.
Yeah, and they became aware that they had a body.
Yeah.
And then the attached feelings and that.
Self-consciousness was born.
Yeah. Okay, but so that's one way to talk about it. But if I could, another way was when you were talking about a child, a baby, that moment when it begins to have a sense of detachment from the mother.
Yeah.
And I mean, in another type of story, the one that psychologists tell, the thing that determines the sense of separateness in the person is what they call their entry into language.
Yeah.
In other words, when mama keeps saying the name to this kid, you know, little John, and eventually John thinks, oh my God, that's me. I'm John.
Yeah.
And then they develop this understanding that the pronoun I refers to them, and me and you, and once that language is there, then that reinforces the sense of separateness.
Very interestingly, children don't use the word I. They only use the word me when they're small.
Yeah, they refer to them in the third person.
They always
John
say me,
doesn't
me,
want
me.
that.
That's right, or their name. Yeah.
Okay.
Harry
So
do it. Harry do it.
Yeah. So what's happening there is that they're still sort of seeing themselves through the other person's eyes.
Yes.
So the eye is gradually sort of hardening into this ball that becomes the problem for us all afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I was wondering whether I know there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. The eye would never, even if it sort of pretends it might.
Yeah.
Like my eye tells me, oh, John, you understand this. You really understand what Tim is saying. But here I am feeling as separate.
Oh, that's,
and it's a bugger. But I was thinking that there's a slight temptation to feel that if you could only play with the right language, then you sort of get a foot in the door.
Oh, absolutely.
But
I played a lot with that, John.
No, I mean, say, for example, you know, using the passive, saying, oh, yeah, this here, this is, and, you know, it arises and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
maybe. And of course, there are non-dual speakers who don't use any personal pronouns because of that. I think, you know, that they feel that in some way that may be helpful. But here it just seems obvious that it doesn't matter about being helpful or unhelpful to the self who's seeking, because it won't have it anyway.
Yeah. It can play the game, but it won't have it anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, there will be others who have tried harder than me, but I tried pretty damn hard. Ilango looks like he's trying quite hard, you know, 30 years, but you never know really how much rowing people have put in, do you? Until, but yeah, I mean, it does, that's very tempting to play that language game, but it will just be another game for me to play.
Yeah.
Because really we're talking about, it doesn't matter about the games at all. You know,
because you see, there's a game that I play when I walk along the seafront, you know, and the sea sort of makes me feel all sort of spacey and so on. Yeah. And then I have this game and I play, and it's called There's No One. And I begin to say that to myself.
Yeah.
If that would help me, push me over the edge. And then I think that this is actually becoming a mantra. And the moment it becomes a mantra, it's just another game I'm playing with myself.
Yeah. Oh, I did it a lot, John.
Okay, well,
I did. I played a game. I played the game of There's Nothing Really Happening. That was my favorite. That's what I used to do. So when things were happening and I didn't like what was happening, I'd play There's Nothing Really Happening. There's nothing really happening. There's nothing really happening.
No, I can hear Tony.
And I mean, if you think about it, that's just like a child would comfort itself, you know, when it was afraid.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm actually on a reverse journey back to my.
I would say you're regressing quickly. The sooner you get back to 1 years old, then the better, John. In a very real sense, this is like a regression as well, of course, because you do. There's a returning home, and then there's an obviousness that you never left. I mean, I do still love. Again, it's a bit romanticized. That isn't what happens, but it is a lovely story, and of course. This is always home. There is only this, so you could call it home, or the garden, or paradise, or heaven. And it can be obvious that there was no one who could ever have left. And so in that sense, there's no one who arrives back either. There's just...
So it's like...
Call it what you
want.
Like
Milton. Okay, it's like Milton says, is you've got once you leave paradise, you have paradise inside you.
So true.
And it never, and I mean, so it never left you.
No. Well, this can't leave, and it can't arrive.
Yeah.
So the whole notion of, you know, arrival, coming back to Elango, because I really like, it's great when you get a really hardcore seeker like Elango, who's been trying so hard, and you know, there's not much he hasn't tried. Then it can be really, it's hard to let that go. It's very habitual seeking, you know, it's a habit of a lifetime. You've been doing it since you had language. It's what everyone's done their entire lives. This is, you know, so when Elango said about being a seeker, he just means a seeker of enlightenment. But as I tried to emphasize, this is the same for all selves. There's a myriad of ways you can try to find what you're looking for, never knowing what you're looking for, because of course what you're looking for hasn't ever left. So of course there's no possibility of finding it. That's the greatest disappointment. When I was talking about the disappointment, was that I just did not find what I was looking for, because of course what I was looking for was something else, was that, not this. This is never good enough. And that's the whole story, really.
Thanks.
Thanks, John.
Okay, next up we have Girish. Again, go ahead, Girish.
Girish.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice talk. I want to thanks to you teams because you very well explained, and I also been practicing spirituality from 15 years, and during this nothing sessions I observed how deep it is. So simple actually, the living life, but we are finding busy meaning life. We are too busy in finding meaning of life, but we forget the living life. So simple. And thank you. We are life actually. We are life.
You could say, yeah. There's me will never have it that life has no meaning other than the meaning I give it.
But we have that so many years habit to giving meaning everything.
Yeah. But and again, it can sound as though, because you've heard a lot of if you've been listening to non-duality speakers, you've heard of, you know, pointless and meaningless, hopeless. I feel those phrases can be misleading, Girish, because it's not that meaning can't appear, or a point can't appear, or hope couldn't appear. It's that none of that has any meaning or point or hope. Now, that may sound nonsense, but that is how it is. So say there's meaning appear, oh, that means that. Well, it's very clear that although there is that sense of that's what that means, that has no essential meaning. There's a lightness about it. But of course you can attribute meaning. It just doesn't mean anything. You can attribute that, oh, the point of that, I can see the point of what they're doing there. But of course that's pointless. Oh, I can see, I hope to go on holiday when the lockdown's over. But that hope is hopeless, because you know, there is no future. There's not, but that doesn't mean to say that it doesn't appear, but it's got no substance, because I'm the one who needs it to be like that. I'm the one who needs meaning. I am the one who needs hope, and for life to have a point. I can't accept pointlessness because it feels like death. It's not, though. Because life without a point isn't pointless. is completely neutral. It couldn't care less whether there's a point or no or not. It's neither is of any significance. Imagine if life cared about your, it's this whole notion of God. Imagine if God cared about, you know, what you think was important, what you thought was the point of life. Imagine life caring. Your dearest friends don't really care what you think is the point of life or the meaning of life. They'll pretend they do in a discussion with you and, you know, be courteous, but they're only interested in their own ideas and meanings of what life is about. That's how significant they are. So really everything can be seen in its great insignificance. And it's a wonder that that insignificance is love.
Yes, and it's just happening. Life is just happening.
Yeah.
Just happening. And we have that, actually, I know about the psychology where when we heard the words or we have some background meaning or emotions, we attach to that our experience, our feelings. So actually that words also, when we say that non-meaning, so it feels like, oh, non-meaning. So there is actually there is lots of potential energy that is just happening like.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, when you see, yeah, thanks, Girish, that's lovely. If you see small children, they're not attributing meaning or purpose to anything, are they?
Yes, today I posted one post, teacher in my page, teachers saying that little guy, elementary school, just ask question. And that little voice asks that teachers, why?
Ask them what, sorry?
I posted in Facebook post, I posted one picture. In that picture, they show one teacher asks, tell that teacher, student asks questions for life or understanding. That little voice reply the teacher, why?
Yeah, good. Yeah, nice. Thanks, Girish.
There's a question here from Princess Praga. How can an apparent person understand whether what appears is real, unreal, or neither?
No. Everything that appears is real. That's all there is. So that's reality, this. So when I'm talking, when I'm using the word this, I'm saying this is all there is. So this is the only reality. There isn't any more. But so it's not the reality of language, though, because all language does is subjectify and separate and give the illusion that you know what this reality is. That's the illusion. So this is absolutely real, but you can't know it because the best you can do is pick out one or two objects in this appearance, one or two seeming happenings, sounds, and if you if you could take in all of it, it would just be very obvious that it isn't in pieces, that it's whole. So in that sense, you could say it's all one rather than in parts. But equally, that one is nothing, it's empty. So as well as being real, it's completely real, the only reality. But simultaneously, as well as being completely real, it's completely unreal because it has no substance. The substance is what human beings are giving it. And that's the best we can do. And it's not like there's a reality behind that illusory separation into things and objects and saying I know. That's still, whether you say I know or whether it's obvious, there's just words for seeming things, but they're not really separate. I don't know if that was an answer at all. So I'll summarize that. So there's, everything is real and unreal. Equally real and unreal. And all that means is really that's just, that sounds like you know what's real and what's unreal. It's just a way of saying you don't know. There's no knowing, but you don't need to know. That's all. I mean, I wanted to know. But I haven't forgotten that desire to know what's real. And of course, to know what's real, I have to divide it from the unreal. Well, real and unreal are not two. So you don't get anywhere, you know, there's no mileage in that.
Okay, I have a question here from Facebook. Hello, I know that there is no me, no you, but at the character level, are you now less inclined to willingly harm others in any way than before? In a situation that you previously were mean on purpose, would you now act any differently with more kindness and compassion maybe? Or this doesn't change at all?
Who's asking that?
This is from a question from Facebook. I don't have a name, I'm sorry.
Well, it's implying she knew that I was really mean to people when I was me.
Don't know.
And I'm taking it personally and I'm taking offense. And if anything, I'm probably more mean without me. So I don't think there'll be some sort of sainthood come along with this absence of self. The character will just react very spontaneously without all the care of being nice that me used to do. So if anything, again, this is not what you want, because you wouldn't mind being a saint. Sounds quite nice. You know, people will probably look up to you.
I have the name. It's Alexandra Safta.
Alexandru,
sorry, Safta.
Alexandru. I'm thinking I'm probably a little bit more mean. I don't know what you mean by mean exactly, because there's less filtering, there's less self-consciousness, there's less inhibition, so there's more spontaneous reactive, particularly emotionally. With things, yeah, so mean, yeah. With things like anger, you know how powerful conditioning is to repress anger, to not show it, to avoid conflict. So there is still some of that, but it's nowhere near as what it used to be. So anger is much more easily expressed. That's just one example. But then tears are as well. You know, the things that we said, you know, don't do that, be a man, be kind, be nice, be a nice man. Be a good boy. You're far less, there's far less concern about being nice, good, worthy, acceptable. And yet, of course, the condition is still all there. So really, there's not that much change. But if you want a story of how it might be different, it's moving away from trying to be a saint, which, of course, you know, you've all been trying to do to a degree, you know, with moments of devilry, which you then chastised yourself for and had to say 300 Hail Marys or whatever other. You didn't have to be religious to beat yourself up for being, you know, naughty boy or naughty girl. which really meant pleasure and enjoying yourself. Well, one of the most liberating aspects of not having that nagging self, that nagging self-criticism and self-loathing, and is for pleasure to be free. We're talking about freedom for pleasure. We're also talking about freedom for pain, sorrow, anger. Let's go the whole hog. Jealousy, envy, all the things, all the sins. If you're brought up a Christian, every sin is liberated because they're seen to be, they're all part of human nature. And really all we're speaking of is what self tries to do is tame, manage, control, rein in, inhibit nature. And you're not you, but what you've called you is absolutely human. Human being human. This is not speaking about any escape from that, but rather a complete embrace of it, an acceptance of it, a surrender to it without any need for surrender, accepting, or embracing. It is as it is. This is already embraced, surrendered, accepted. It doesn't need you to do anything. Isn't that amazing? But it does leave you redundant. You are out of work. You do not have a job. The job you had was to look after yourself. That's done. Finish with that. What do I do now? You will ask. What the fuck am I going to do now? Well, you didn't have to worry about that, because whether you have a plan or not, life just happens anyway. Couldn't give a shit about your plans and your wonderful objectives for becoming what you want to become. It never did. There was never any moving forward. And again, that's why I say this isn't what you want, because of course you always wanted to get what you wanted. So this isn't what you want, but it is all there is. So that's it. So it doesn't matter whether you resist or not. It's all, that's the futility. So resistance, acceptance, surrender, it's all futile. Life couldn't give a monkey's what you're saying about what you're doing.
Okay, we have a question here from Glenn J. Any expression of the dreaming is not it. Nothing spoke can be it. Nothing not spoke can be it. There is no getting, quote, this. Am I close, Tim?
Am I close? Right. Well, you don't get closer or further away. So yeah, you're right on it. On the money.
Okay, I have another question here from Tokyo Tiger. This has
Wow.
no expectation or judgment. Should you? I think he means should it.
Sorry, I've just had a thought. Maybe I won't say it. It's not appropriate. It amused me anyway. I'm going to keep it to myself. It was really inappropriate. Thank God it didn't come out. No, I'm not. Julie, say that again.
Okay, by Tokyo Tiger. This has no expectation or judgment. Should it? Question mark. He says should you, but I think he means should it? Question mark.
It doesn't matter either way. There isn't a should. There's no should or shouldn't. And there's only self who says should and shouldn't. Particularly that parental me, you know, the one keeping you in check. making sure you don't enjoy yourself too much.
Okay, there's lots of people here that are saying thank you and blessings. Blessings from Ness Aya and by Herloff, Erloff, love you.
Lovely Herloff.
Herloff, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Alongo has his hand raised. If there's anyone else who has a question, I would urge you to raise it. Because we're coming into the end now. It's 20 till, so.
Oh yeah, we've actually, well, I didn't really set a time, did I?
No, not really.
We'll have 5 more minutes.
Okay, go ahead, Alango.
Tim, Ilango again.
Hi.
Tim, hi.
Yeah,
I'll just continue where we left off because we have 5 minutes. You said that you would like to gift this, which, you know, from Ilango's point, which I want, the so-called enlightenment or shift or revelation, you would gift it to a loved one.
Yeah, but they wouldn't accept it.
No, I would accept it if you would give it. I'm just giving you as again a metaphor. Because I'm trying to establish from Tim that there is something which can be given. Forget the recipient. It may be your loved ones who do not want it. But suppose some of the seekers say we want it and you're able to give it. What would be the advice you would give?
So the whole message, Alango, let's be really clear. The whole message is there is nothing to give. You know? Are we clear on that? That there isn't anything I could give you?
Not in terms of material gift, you know. Like,
no, I don't mean that. I just mean, you know, energetic, however way you want to look at it. How would I give you? So the whole message, this is it in a nutshell. There is just this. How on earth, and this is everything and nothing. There isn't anything else. There is nothing else. So how would I give you what is already?
Okay, I'll tell an example. Like, you know, I'm a student and you're teaching me, say, for example, you're teaching me to shoot on a rifle range and I'm shooting. And
no, Ilango, yeah, well, I could do that. I was a PE teacher, so physical teaching, you know, that is what I did for 30 years. So that's why this isn't a teaching, for that precise reason. That's why I can say I'm not a teacher, because I can't teach this.
But you're giving a message.
Yeah.
And the message is that everything is this.
Yes.
I understand that very much.
That's
but the
it.
problem with, but the problem that I have is when I am in the this, and I know that is the this, my thoughts come and take me to the future and the past and prevent me from being on the this.
Well, let's be clear on one other aspect of what the message is, Ilango. The other aspect that's very clear is you can't be in this.
Okay, then what do you mean by the you?
You.
You mean my thoughts?
No, you, yourself.
So could you explain that, you know, the self of what you say is the you?
You know, the desire is that I want to be in this. Or and actually the illusion can be sometimes I'm in this and sometimes I'm out of this.
Yeah.
That's the illusion.
You had this illusion some time ago, right? Am I right if I stand to be corrected?
Yeah, like everyone for a lifetime.
Yeah, but then something happened to you. It was like AD and BC, before Christ and after Christ.
You could say that something happened, but I could not tell you that anything happened.
But there was something which was totally different to what now Tim Cliss is giving us a message to help others.
And the only difference, I can tell you exactly what was felt to be the difference, was that everything was absolutely empty.
Exactly. So there was a difference. There was a difference.
That was
even in the timeline of Tim Cliss, there was a difference, like BC and AD.
Yeah, of course. No. Well, you wouldn't, if we don't talk about a timeline, Ilango, we haven't got anything to say at all.
But Tim, you're very different in that. But a lot of people don't accept the timeline in the teaching nowadays. No, they say there is no timeline.
No, I will say there's no timeline. But when we're speaking, of course, we're speaking in time. How are we not?
Okay, in the timeline, when there was a before and after Tim Cliss on this emptiness,
Yeah.
was there anything which Tim Cliss did to achieve this? That's the next question.
I tell you what, Elango, you'd struggle to find anything Tim Cliss didn't do to try and achieve that. That's closer. What didn't he do? He was trying every trick in the book.
Can you give us about 3 or 4?
No, I'm telling you, they're all useless. So I wouldn't do that.
So what happened to you when you entered the emptiness?
I'm saying they're useless. I'm just saying, when I say useless, I mean they're of no use.
Yeah, I understand that. But
Yeah.
then what happened to you in that revelation, or when you entered this emptiness, you think was effortless and spontaneous?
No, there was no recognition. There was no before and after, Elango. And I know that's pretty rubbish. You know, everyone wants some special revelation, but here there was no recognition. The only recognition that was really palpable was emptiness and peace.
That is what we are aiming for.
Well, you think you are, but I'm not sure you are.
Tim, you can't speak for me.
I can't, no. Sorry, Elango.
Yeah.
That is what
no, it's okay.
If you tell me.
It's okay. No, the thing is, you accept very good. There is a timeline where after the timeline, there was an emptiness and peace. Now, you had tried everything in the book.
I say everything. I mean, I wasn't great.
Many things.
I never stuck at anything. What I mean is I just went from one thing to another.
Is it possible that could have been a trigger in you?
Well, yeah, you could say in the story, you could say anything, but if you wanted to know, you know, you're looking for a prescription. And the most obvious thing of all was that no matter what I had done, no matter what I had learnt, no matter what I'd tried, how much understanding I had, and I felt I had really good understanding. All of that, the most obvious thing in the emptiness and the peace was that, that was all for nothing. That was absolutely nothing to do with it. That was the most palpable. And I cried, you know, you say that it's what you want. I cried for weeks with despair. This is on what you might call liberation, awakening, enlightenment, with disappointment.
Why?
And sorrow for all of that effort. I cried for Tim, or there were tears for Tim and all his efforts, because this is nothing to do with effort. This is nothing to do with anything at all. There is no path to get here. I can't emphasize that enough.
Were they joyful tears?
Pardon?
Were they tears of joy?
No. Mourning, sorrow, yeah.
But there was peace and there was silence.
Yeah, so a lot of the peace and silence was sobbing. So if you say that's what you want, I'm suggesting otherwise.
You're sort of, going back saying that you would give this to your loved ones.
I would, yeah. But again, I'm saying I would give them nothing, yeah.
Okay,
and of course they would open it and go, well, what the fuck's this? I thought you were getting me a nice present.
Sometimes children don't.
It's an empty box with nothing in it.
I know. Yeah, but sometimes children don't know that what the elders give them is for their own good.
I just know if I gave my 6-year-old son a nice big box and wrapped it up and it was empty inside, he wouldn't be pleased.
Okay, Tim, now you said,
yeah.
You said that, all your efforts were a waste, and a lot of teachers and enlightened people say this.
No, I'm not saying they were a waste, but I'm just saying they were all for nothing. So you could say it's a waste, but then there's nothing wasted because none of it ever happened. The most obvious thing when I say waste is that none of that happened. All of your story is just your story. That's it. It doesn't have any more substance.
Okay, let me, reword
story.
it and rephrase it, that the last maybe 1 or 2 years, was there any method you used, a prescription you used?
I can absolutely say, this is hand on heart, Elango. If I could give you some kind of wonderful method, then do you know, I wouldn't be working for Nothing FM, working for them. This is not a job. This is the worst paid job in the world. I would be richer than Eckhart Tolle if I had some prescription to give you. You think if I had a prescription, I would be keeping it a secret? I'd be minted. I'd be richer than Osho. I'd be driving a Rolls Royce for sure. No, I wouldn't. I'd have a Ferrari.
But there is a message in what you're saying. There is a teaching. We understand.
No, there is a message, yeah. But it's not a teaching, because a teaching is giving you. A teaching always has homework, Elango, and I'm not giving you any.
When you're telling us this, isn't it a sort of a, on the negative scale, a homework too? That there's nothing beyond this.
Well, I can't know there's nothing beyond it. It just feels very, very obvious.
Okay, another way of asking you, your message as I receive it is that you're telling me there is no autonomous entity inside Ilango called the self. Whatever is happening is life happening. Yeah. And the human being with the body and with that mind it's an automatic process of the universe. Yeah. So the claiming drops away at some point in time. And then you understand.
Yeah, that's it.
And then you understand that there is no point in being anxious about the tomorrow or the next moment. You just surrender to the present moment.
Well, the thing is there's no need to surrender at all anymore.
If the me ultimately dissolves, if the revelation hits you.
Because of course it's me that would do surrendering. So surrender becomes completely obsolete.
So can we say that the me is totally destroyed when the revelation happens or the enlightenment happens? Due to a cosmic act. Right.
I haven't really told you the story, Lango. You're gonna have to contact me.
Sure.
And and I'll tell you the full story. And then then maybe you'll see that you don't want it.
Okay.
But it's nice to chat to you. And if you want to chat some more, then yeah, sure, contact me through the through my website.
Sure. I've seen that.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Tim, there's one more question here before we close out. Do you want to go for it?
Yeah, I'm nearly physically dead.
Okay, then we can stop here if you'd like.
One more.
Okay, one more. Glenn J. Is there experience without experiencer being known? Oh no, I'm sorry. I have to back up. Is there experience without, quote, experience being known? So in the dreaming, if an apparent experience arises, would this be full-on separation? I said that right.
I can't get that.
Okay. Is there experience without experience being known?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the dreaming, if an apparent experience arises, would this be full-on separation?
No.
Okay. Good.
That's done that.
Okay.
Well, thanks ever so much for coming, all of you. I appreciate the questions and
thank you, Tim, for sharing.
Nice to see you.
Thank you,
Jim.
And thanks very much to Julie for helping me.
And thank you to Nothing FM and all the listeners.
Thanks to Noel and Emerson and the crew at Nothing FM. Yeah, thank you.
And if you guys want to donate,
Thanks, Tim.
Donate to Tim Cliss at his website as well. He has a PayPal there. Thank you so much, Tim.
If you haven't been to my website, yeah, go there. It's pretty.
And there's a link here in the chat section of Zoom and YouTube.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for everyone who.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Lovely. Thanks very much. Take care.
Bye, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Bye.
Bye.
Gotta say hi to Joey. Hi, Joey.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Joey.
How are you?
All good over here. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it me that is breaking up? No, she's gone. Must have been her.
Thank you, everyone.
See you, Emerson.
Goodbye, Emerson. Goodbye. Goodbye, Emerson. Goodbye.
Bye, bye, Emerson. Bye, Emerson.
Bye, Lionel.
Bye, Emerson. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, Lionel.